basakati ngithatha 10 minutes ngithandaza ku-honorisha kwekuthi live selabuya satiphatsela lokusho ukuthi nasoliphethe live all challenges are now upon your shoulders to find solution to sekuthi umlo ngamkhalela ngakho-ke siyamdzinga uNkulunkulu America nalamanye emave kuvele kube lilanga lelikhulu lekuthandaza nekuthandazela live nekuthula ngiyaye ngikophe leyo tradition ngicabange ukuthi ikahle kodwa nje in the absence of any national activity or event to mark the day it can only be left into the discretion of individuals on how best they choose to celebrate and honor this great day of the National Flag Day.
All right, thank you so much Ismail Mnguni. Ethemba ukuthi sibe samaswati isivile nathi lapha emsakadweni nasiphuma nje lana Mnguni sitawuhamba nathi siyothandaza leyo 10 minutes in commemoration of National Flag Day. Ubonelanga lelihle Mnguni. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mbukeli Sauti Vele government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo ukuthi kuningi longakwenda ungakhokha abamfa bakho bayetiyeni nawuvuka nje uthandazo shayelo umthandazo wa 10 minutes yena uthusha 10 minutes so nathi ke nasiphuma lapha nje ehlelweni with my colleague Davide sithanaza sendele umthandazo lo in commemoration of National Flag Day. Saselkefu siyabuya khona manje.
Hey you.
Yes, you. Have you paid your TV license?
Did you know that by paying for your TV license fees, you will be complying with the laws that govern television possession, in particular the Swaziland Television Authority Act of 1983 and its regulations? It is a legal obligation.
Paying for your TV license can have a positive spin-off as the money collected from TV license fees goes a long way in assisting Eswatini Television Authority procure appealing and relevant content to broadcast on the channel.
So now, these fees also increase purchasing of local content from independent producers, which helps ensure that the arts and film industry in the country is well supported thus far, ensures the creation of jobs for Emaswati. The payment of TV license fees goes a really long way in such endeavors as well as nation building.
A TV license costs 180 emalangeni per year per device, and for other accessories such as a decoder or njinja, it costs 50 emalangeni per device per year.
By paying for your TV license,
you will be doing the right thing.
Asimze sinimukele sikuvusele nawo losanza kusivulela lilanga le World Malaria Day lamuhla mhlaba wonke nge ukubhala olusuku lolu kuzama nje kwanzisa lwadi ngesifo sembuzulwane imalaria levele Eswatini ke selihambe umgamo lomude kuzama kunciphisa donati inombolo yabantu labasithola kulesifo kanti ke dibalelwe emaveni langu 173 emhlabeni wonke ekakhulu kade nje lapha esifundeni seAfrica lasakhonile kunciphisa inombolo yabantu labashiya emhlabeni Malaria phenze futhi labathola sona lesifo uchazela abantu ukuthi lokho bakachive kanjani. I'm joined by the National Malaria Control Program Manager Quentin Dlamini. Asekuvusela Nkosi namhlanje. Thank you for joining us. It's a big day for you as the National Malaria Control Program kanye nje nelitiko letempilo nelive leSwatini kuma nje kuva simo semalaria lapha eveni ukuthi sithini according to WHO emhlabeni wonke nje especially in Africa ngeminyaka wa 2022 608,000 babamfu bashiya emhlabeni ngemalaria 249 million cases were reported in Africa kuleyo mnyaka ngabe vele simo lapha Eswatini sime kanjani athina ama cases labikiwe nje ukuthi kunebantu labatfolakala nemalaria in the past 12 months.
Angibonge Thumbeni ngifusele babukele emakhaya. Silive sitshaya emakhwapha. Sijabula kabi ngekuthenini kulama million wabalako thina sikho lapho. Kulama thousand wabalako thina sikho lapho. Sidla kuma hundreds. Ngidawuthi ke mhlambe kulomnyaka sisuke nje ama cases la khona. Umnyaka wethu uqala nga July to June. Sendela ukuthi mhlambe sikhona ukuthi sibuke simkhunini indaba uqala khona bese siyabuka ukuthi mhlambe sipheza theneni. Kanti noma mhlambe singaqala January to December kulomnyaka vele siphasa kakhulu. Angidokubekisela nje mhlambe ngale nyanga lena ngaMay April sasina 199 ma cases. Nyalo sikhuluma na 16 ma cases. Isengaphela lenyanga. Enesibhekile kusekeni ke nakule nyanga letako le reduction itaba la kubo 80% compared to lomnyaka ophelile. Kusho khona ukuthi mhlambe ke kulama cases besinawo abo 700 last year. Kulomnyaka lona sitaba ngaphasi kwehalf yalama cases besinawo. And incumbi yawo lesinawo ma cases abantu lebaqhamuka ngaphandle kwale live bamthole amadele veva ngaphandle kwale live noma abantu abetela kangwane labasebenzela kithi. Sineke njenge live utakhumbula ukuthi le World Malaria Day yona ingalomhla ka April 25 vele. Kanti siphinde nalo Sadak Malaria Day yena uba nga 9 mhla ka 9 November. So ke omabili la malanga siyawa celebrate. Kule minyaka lona ke celebrate we will be celebrating the World Malaria Day kusasa nje lapha eMahlangempisi.
So ukhuluma ngentinombolo Nkosi nangabe nguvakadla uthi betithi 199 last year nyalo ting 16 ngabe ngisiphi strategy lenisebenzisile ukuzama nje ukuthi nginciphisa leto nombolo.
Tatewethu nelive lonke utawukhumbula ukuthi besolo sinale nkinga ukuthi malele veva mose simchithile kangwane why kube kuvela. Kwase kuyakhanzakala ukuthi mhlambe indzaweni lebe sesiqedze khona ngamalele veva sikuvela malele veva sangathi kwente kanjani. Siyabona emveni ukuthi ngoba kuqala nje la kubo 2010 11 biya ngala ukuthi abile malele veva kahoho leni manje. Sesiyabona sikwenteke ini. Ngicabanga sive sibonile ukuthi sesingena ehlathini nyalo lapho sikhona lokubanika lamanethi ngoba lemakhaya siyafutha njengalo nje besositho ukuthi lemakhaya sekuthi lo malele veva semncane kakhulu but ulehlathini so nyalo bese sikhona ngena ehlathini sesiyakhulumisana labahlobo bethu lemahlathini itsenini no asinike lamanethi ngoba vetiyani student imbuzo nemahlathini so ngiko lokho kasi mhlambe kwenele mehluko lomkhulu utawukhumbula ukuthi sicele nini sicelela kubo December nakunyalo ngoMarch nangalo April nangalo March bekamancane ma cases April shona phasi and then May dokumela last year ngaMay besina 200 so bayawathatha lamanethi le mahlathini inkinga nje lesinayo nyalo lokutheni le mango nayo ifuna lamanethi kancha phela lamanethi ale mahlathini hayi lamangweni emangweni siyafutha khona.
Nje lo ukuthi sihamba on the right track nje Nkosi nani ngena ngala mahlathini lo ukuthi mhlambe kungenda ukuthi vele mhlambe kuleyo nyanga kube bethe ama cases labi kwako ngalendlela le nalomfutho lenihamba ngawo.
I-elimination ngabe sesiphatha ngetanda tsetsewethu ngemahlathi. Sesingenile ke emahlathini yalo manje sikaphele lo ngazisa kunemthonselana base ngakaveli bonke. Kungaba ngithatha lithuba lithi hey nani ningaveli velani ikhona le ndlela lesikhomisana ngayo ukuthi manje siyabonana ke manje ke siniketela amanethi hawu nanti imbusilwane basebenda kahle ngaphela emahlathini uyagatha busuku nemini very quiet imbuzo nto basudela abantu.
Ingabe nje Nkosi kuvela ukuthi vele ngibani kahle that ngibani low at risk nasingayibeka kanjalo sengodini kutfola lembuzwana sutela ngilembuzwane sitawukhumbula ukuthi kulamanye amave kakhulu nje labo Africa bo Kenya nabo Congo kuba kakhulu ngama migrants noma ke mhlambe ama refugees lokhanze ukuthi they are at risk. La Eswatini nje nasikhuluma ngemuvulo sengodini ukuthatha malaria sikhuluma ngemuvulo lo kanjani.
La kangwane cishe mhlaba wonke ifocus nyalo ikuma migrant mobile populations. Kusho ukuthi ke ngulabantu labaqhamuka ngaphandle labahambako. Ukhanze ukuthi bona vele baqhamuka endaweni le malaria fever khona amningi kakhulu njengala kithi nje thine simtapuna ngala kumakhelwane. Siyabasebenzisa labantu nawe nje ngumchasha ekhaya nabani ngumchasha ekhaya lo muntu omchasha ekhaya uhamba namalaria fever emtimbeni. Thinila kangone sinethi imbuzulwane tisitela bona ke kulamalanga ke balehlathini banasithine eMaswati tisutela bona tisutele eMaswati bese ke kwenza kanjalo khumbulo silamahlathi phela silime eceleni kwemfula vele tete yenbuza lemantini lapha yana thina sihleli lapha siyatilimela lapha sikhatheni lokhu kulokuhla kwethu lapha yana sethi yasutela ina sutela mina sutela sesibiyele emakhaya sesihamba amabhala noma mhlambe sesifika le emahlathini into enjengaleyo.
Na siselapha nje indzabeni te elimination nje ngokuthi ngiyakholwa lokuthi vele mina ngimetama nendako eziliteko letempilo sekhona ama services lena provider ko for umuntu ovakashela la mave la at high risk ya malaria lokuthi vele kube khona nama precautions la kawathatha kwa ngaphambi kokuthi aye kulelo live.
Tatsewethu takhumbula ukuthi emavikini lamabili ngcile minister beka receive ama drugs lapha e-Central Medical Stores from the Snowmelt Malaria Fund. La ma drugs lawo bekuma drugs kuthenini asale abakhona amaphilisi ukuthi na uhamba uwathole wanathe utokhona kuvikeleka besingenawo sasaphelile nakhona sendwana lokuthenini hayi ukuthi mhlambe uhulumende utele imali kwathenga yini bekutele lathenga khona so seyositholeke Malaria Fund nyalo from UK sesinawo amaphilisi nangabe kukhona inhlobo lekute yona iba khona le alternative otherwise nje sesije sime kahle ngalo hlangothi lolo
kulawa lekumele wathatha before uyovakashela.
Exactly.
Okay. So kulawa nje mhlambe kuthiwa vele so unayo le malaria so uyelashwa ingabe live vele lisetini lapho sikahle ini lapho benzabe ne medication yesive.
Ndawuthi sime kahle sisi even though kusekhona lapho ufuna silungise khona ngoba phela kufuneka ukuthi unephilisi namuhla bese liyaphila ngakusasa bese hey siyonanisa cha sisabuka kuthenini mhlambe singaba nje ngeke kanjani ukuthi mhlambe sibe fully stocked nalokuthi bese ngithe ngicela ngale kubanibani ngithe nami ne patient ngalapha ngento enjengaleyo. Otherwise kona there is no transmission.
Siselapho nje Nkosi lokuthi vele ngabe lwadi esebenza amaswadi lunganani ngekuthi vele kumele bathathe le medication yalohlobo ngaphambi kokuthi bayovakashela emavela kwanza ukuthi aku risk lenkulu ye malaria kuba khona inloko kufundiswa kwesive kuba khona ukuthi ivakashele imimango nibafundisa ngalesifo nibafundisa ngalama precautions nyakwenda inloko as i national malaria control program.
Lokhu kahle ngetempilo lokuthenini nawe uyesibhedlela noma edokotela noma ngunesi noma ngibani uyakufundzisa ngento noma ngusiphi sithi uyafundiswa ngabo kokuqala kwesibili nathi siyaphuma singena imikhankaso lama community siyafundisa sihamba kuphi siyafundisa cishe nala kubo television nema wireless nini uyakubona mase kuyafundiswa then ke lokunye lokuthenini malaria fever akusiso sifo lesimnanzi nawunazo lobuhlungu lobuvako utshela wonke lo muntu sekwenda kusibantu bahlahle emehlo ukuthi hey ngone bane kungangikhanzi so le awareness le noma ama cape surveys uyabona ukuthi abantu bayadi mane ngulesimo lesimkhanze kuyo lemkhanze kuyo lembuzulwane ukuthenini awubhengise ehlathini manje vele bekuthi bengakwenda otherwise lwati banalo kakhulu bantu.
So le timpawu vele dona Nkosi ticala nini lokuvela and nasetivela kusuke sesambe kanganani lesifo la ngekhathi emtimbeni wami
sesafa amabhungane nale ngisutele ebusuku mina sengilawa enhlo cha lele bangomalaria fever iyakusutela namuhla kutawuthatha emalanga lalishumi kuye kumalanga lalishumi namane 10 to 14 days so uyaqala ukukhombisa leti mpawu talo malaria fever. Lokho banjwa inhloko uqaqambe ushise labanye baze basheke nokusheka manje sibe nesiyeti kepha-ke lokumqondo lokuthenini musa kuthi nawo nenhloko encane uhlale ekhaya silitiko sithi wagula nje yena emtholampilo ikuphi lenkinga ngokuthi awustakala noma nestimate dokotela angene kunika iphilisi ukuthi uyabona wena uthi ngingalahle imali wena usho ukuthi ngisakubudile utakutshela yenda kuthi ube ngcono so musa nje ukuthi ubulala ngekugula ngakutheni nokuphutheka esibhedlela ngoba ngento yamhlawumbe into lenkulu leyo sinike emaswati vele asinayo lo malaria fever la kangwaneni lokuthi mhlawumbe umtimba wethu ugwamile kuthi nje zwi kancane suyagula kakhulu uyabona so asinayo le immunity in short
so vele nasekuvele
isigaba vele sigula la ukuthi bona TB so kumfale kumcwala ukuthi mhlawumbe usheshe uye esibhedlela
njengoba vedile nje ngosecaleni nokuthi vele fortunately enough for Eswatini kude kakhulu kahle kude vele lama deaths lenwabikako labikako ukuthi bamsebashile ngenxa ye-malaria engabe vele mhlambe la umfuna safika esigabeni sekuthi soyashe emhlabeni kusuke sekunjani kusuke mhlambe abhude kubona noma wahlala netimphawu noma vele kusuke kuhluleke udokotela esibhedlela kusuke sekunjani la ngekhathi nje emtimbeni
ubute ukuthi sicaleni ba-away ni bantu itolo bukhanza ukuthi mhlawumbe netinyanga nanto sithi yacontribute ekutheni lo muntu ephute nyalo ke abasaqala nje etinyangeni baya esibhedlela abantu nangabe ashonile umuntu ukhanza ukuthi nguye lo ephutile kuya lesibhedlela ingako sicela ukuthi le nhloko ayisina kuphatha nje yana esibhedlela ngoba kungaba kuningi lokungaba ngale nhloko kufeka yena lo malaria fever so sinja singahlali nekugula sisive emakhaya yana esibhedlela kangwane ke nawo compare nemavela amanye ama-clinic ahlala avuliwe nje advutane akafana nemavela amanye lapho mhlambe sahlele sihamba khona sibuke ema-clinic so nje basically ngasine bantu bema-clinic batawusitakala
sibuye nje kule ndzaba yekufutha nje Nkosi so ngifuna kuva lokho ukuthi ngalokuthi vele nifuna kuvikela sive nifuna nciphisa vele dona letimbuzlwane la emangweni ngabe sivikeleka kanjani sive nitikhetha kanjani letindle nokhetha kanjani lamakhaya la etawuhamba nefutha khona ngiyakhombela ukuthi benyeni khala ukuthi labanye abanivuleli kanti vele kubalekele ukuthi ningene mhlambe kulelo khaya nisuke niboneni nibuka kanjani ukuthi kumele nifuthe kuphi ningafuthe kuphi
okay before siqale kufutha siyapopola letimbuzlwane tikhona lapha kude lapha tikhona lapha kude lapha phinde futhi sibuke nalama cases ugule kuphi wena uthathe le mbuzlwane so yiningi le science leba khona bese siyaconza ke siya lapha yana otherwise kube siyafayela nje ngaba asikho la sikhona khona so nasi sicela sishaya emathambo ukuthi imbuzlwane ngetehlulele kaningi bakhala nje lapha banegobholo basithi yasisutela nakuphi nemenhlanga nakuphi sine asisukele mangibe imbuzlwane sisukela lena ngoba netibonga nabo makagula bodlamini bofaka ukuthi nangabe ngile kamakagula sisukela kamakagula
ibonakala ngani le kamakagula ngakhona kuyibona ukuthi na imbuzlwane naye ihamba nesifo samalaria fever
wena angete manje uyibone sine sinalo bokuciko bokutibona ngoba phela into ihlalela esikolweni into bese uyayibuka kwemlende yayo imbiko tayo lekwekuluma kwayo kunjani uyabona sibuka into njengaleto thathe wethu kulethi mbuzlwane sathi gola vele sihlele phansi njengalokuhleli nawo sithi gole ebusuku sibe sethipopola ke
so kona ile lo msebenzi wokufutha nisachubeka noma mhlambe nesamile ngalokubuka ukuthi mhlambe sesitawungena kubusika
kufutha ke asifuthi inyalo but siyasifutha nabe si responda nabe kune case otherwise kufutha sifutha ngalesikhathi ngaqali lokubana ningi lamala letimbuzlwane sifuthe la emakhaya bese ke sesiyagatha ukuthi kutawuvelani la lesikubonile ukuthi lekuthenini la amakhaya nangabe sifuthile wena lohlala endlini lengikafuthwa sikhansa ukugula kungako sithi ke noma ngabe uyahamba nase uvile isibethe ufutha sivule indlu sifuthe bese thambela ke wena ke otherwise ama cases yethu nje incumbi yawo abengekho la khaya ngekuthi beye kuphi lo munye wakhiye wasibalekela ayise ngiyangibambelela lento kanca sidabona thina.
Yeah. Kubuta nje ngokuthi ngabe vele mhlambe climate change yona imisa kanjani nje nelihlangothi ngoba siyathi ukuthi climate change ita netimo letiningi kuba nema disasters timvula letimatima phinze futhi lishise kakhulu ekakhulu kade nje ngato tikhathi etabo sama ngabe vele lesiphithiphithi siba kanjani kunti kabeta kanganani vele lokuthi kube nalokucucuka kwesimo selitulu.
Sikhala ngayo i-climate change umhlaba wonke ngani ngobe Malaria simbona indzaweni lapho babengazange sabe khona lokushisa timbuzo netiyajabula nabe kungashisa la mbabane kufana nalehlanzeni utawuqola embabane Malaria kulukhuni ngekumnqoba Malaria ngavukele nedolobheni so sinale nkinga leyo okay kungako kungase mhlambe sisheshe responde nangabe kune case khona engene spread lento utawukhumbula phela ukuthi nasicela le program lebo 1945 until 1956 njena Malaria beka la Malagwane la zobe nje bekufuthwa sizofika libonje la sikhona khona nyalo so ke vele le climate change iyas affect la kithi nje for instance eminyakeni lephelile sike sayathola ama cases ngala kubosigangeni kusho bona ukuthi kungashisa iyahamba nembusilwane yamaphansi
ngavumbuka anywhere
angithi hamba nandi ama-portmendeni nalemotweni teni uhamba nomgcibeleka kuphi kube niyabuya lapha siyovula ibhuthi yambuzulwane
lokusho ukuthi vele kumele sitivikele ngoba kusikhumbuta nje Nkosi ngato lama precautions kumele siwathatha. I think ngihlale nigcizelela indzaba yemanet especially mangabe vele sisetindzaweni lapho khona titinengi kakhulu letindzawo ngitiphi nje mhlawumbe timvule singatenda kuzama ukutivikela kuyo lembuzulwane.
Okay bese ngichazile ukuthi lama net ke vele akasiwa lemakhaya ale emahlathini kulaba semahlathini vele abapholoti lapho noma abantu
just le net ngese ngifake nje empetheni wami
nawu naye kuthathe wethu ifake
okay
wayethola lokusemthethweni ifake net itakusida kepha ke sivumele sifukuthi nangabe lendzawo nje asifani sisuke lendzawo ngaphandle ukuthi into kube nemali leveva sivumele sifuthe na utawuhamba uye endzaweni lemali leveva thathe amaphilisi nase sifuthile musa phela bese uyahuqa wena ukahle futhi lomuthi wethu ngoba na ufutha nje nyalo ngawo nyalo nemaphelo ayafa ikuphi lenkinga musa kuhuqa musa kubhatha musa kupenda ngoba lo muthi uhlathi nyathi isithuba labonzeni kuyedulu so uvikelekile kumala leveva
kusasa niyalicommemorate lelanga emadla ngempisi ingabe nitabe nenda ini nje kusasa yini lesingayigatha kuma activities en
ema cases ethu tasewethu akhomba ukuthi insha umningi leveva sisike kusasa semadla ngempisi siyakhulumisana nensha empeleni siyathi silitiko sonke nawo onke ama department ngapha sesihamba sonke nje masema kuma communities noma ngawugula nihambe emadla ngempisi sports ground sidabe sinawo tonke inhlanga ngosithe impilo sifundisa amalele veva kuyabe kunemidlalo ye-youth nebhola lapha nabantu abawina bothathe nabo babe so sidabe nalo hlelo lolo nje la kusasa ukuthi nini langa lonke nje abajabuliwe emadla ngempisi kunema games tabe futhi kunebantu betempilo ba provide ama services onke
Okay, utabo kuphi lo msebenzi enkundleni?
Yes, dadewethu, yes. Eground ikhona lapho uDane futhi.
Alright, no ngiyavakala sibanga kakhulu ngozemukeli. Sawuthi vele i-World Malaria Day idabe igujwa ngokusemthethweni kusasa khona enkundleni yasemadla ngeMphisi kusukela nje ekuseni. Asasekhefu sitawuya sichubeka nehlelo.
Weswana lalela nizaba lethiwe enkosini uthokandaba emabutho akaphelele lapha esigodlweni ludzidzini mhla tingemashumi lamabili nesiphohlongo kuyo lesetulu kujuba ngeluthaka eshiselweni kujuba ngeluthaka eMpumalanga kujuba ngenkomanzi kaHoho nanga ke lamabutho inganyeti inyathi imgadlela bokhololo usho njalo ke malokothanga lomnyama ngilosenhlambelweni malokothanga lomnyama ngilonje ngenyama yesibanda bomswazi ayisemnandi ephemnandi koseni uthuma kuyasa ke embube kungamabhudlu uthuma phansi bakufa ngethi ngqungu bakubalekela msakandaba wena ke mbekwana kuphumalanga nenizabatalo ilanga litsela ushobe engidunitela likhulu kwenye malangani inyoni ngalontshilo inyoni ngamabisa asabele uliya blamas nakhona ngunasimiko bayethe wena phakathi
bayethe wena phakathi.
Eswatini Post and Telecommunication Corporations congratulate their majesties and all Emaswati on this special day of national pride and unity. May the beautiful flag of Eswatini continue to symbolize the strength, resilience and rich heritage of our nation. Wishing everyone a joyous National Flag Day celebration filled with mutual trust, friendship and patriotism.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at international news. After years of political wrangling and court battles, British lawmakers passed legislation on Monday that the government hopes will allow it to deport asylum seekers arriving in small boats across the English Channel to Rwanda for processing.
A grim reminder of the dangers of the migrant journeys across the English Channel. 5 people died, including a young child, when an overloaded inflatable dinghy carrying migrants got into difficulties off the French coast Tuesday morning. French authorities say 112 people were on board.
Despite this complex and delicate situation, 57 people who were still in the inflatable boat remained on board. Not willing to be rescued, they managed to restart the engine and decided to continue their sea route towards Britain.
Such is the determination of migrants to reach Britain. Over 6,300 people have made the journey in small boats so far this year. The tragedy came just hours after British lawmakers passed legislation aiming to send to Rwanda all asylum seekers arriving across the English Channel. Migrants would be processed in Rwanda and have no right to return to Britain, even those granted refugee status. The legislation effectively orders the courts to ignore existing British laws or international treaties that could block the deportations. It's not yet clear if further legal challenges could delay the flights. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said the prospect of being sent thousands of kilometres away to Rwanda will deter migrants from making the journey to Britain.
The first flight will leave in 10 to 12 weeks. Now, of course, that is later than we wanted, but we have always been clear that processing will take time.
The government argues the policy is moral, as it aims to end the dangerous journeys operated by people smugglers. But the United Nations called for Britain to rethink the legislation.
By shifting the responsibility for refugees, reducing the UK court's ability to scrutinise removal decisions, restricting access to legal remedies in the UK, and limiting the scope of domestic and international human rights protections for a specific group of people, this new legislation seriously hinders the rule of law in the UK, and it sets a perilous precedent globally.
Under the deal, Britain is paying Rwanda at least $458 million over 5 years, with extra payments on top worth tens of thousands of dollars for each migrant sent to the country. The opposition has called it an expensive gimmick that won't work. The passing of the legislation after years of delay is a political victory for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Whether the policy deters migrants from making the deadly journeys across the English Channel remains to be seen.
Marijuana is a rare consensus issue in politically divided America, with polls showing that 88% of Americans support at least partially legalizing the drug. But cannabis advocates say neither of the leading presidential candidates are capitalizing on shifting attitudes.
Nearly 3/4 of Americans live in states where marijuana is legal for medicinal purposes. Half the population live where it's also allowed recreationally. But cannabis remains entirely illegal under federal law, where it's classified alongside heroin and LSD as drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. The overwhelming majority of American voters who think that should be changed makes cannabis a ripe opportunity for presidential candidates Joe Biden and Donald Trump, especially among young voters, according to Scotty Smart, who's a community organizer with the civic engagement group, the New Georgia Project.
A lot of people don't understand policy. A lot of people don't know how policies affect their day-to-day lives. I think cannabis is an issue that ignites and excites young people to pay attention.
At the National Cannabis Festival and Washington Policy Summit earlier this month, founder Caroline Phillips said neither Biden nor Trump have delivered.
For both of them, one thing they have in common is that their track records on cannabis have been inconsistent and incremental. We've heard promises from both administrations, neither of which have panned out in full.
Under Biden, the Department of Health and Human Services recommended changing marijuana to a lighter drug classification, rescheduling it instead of making it legal, which would be descheduling.
The current White House's policy on marijuana remains slightly unclear. They have given us great signals that they're willing to shift towards descheduling, but most likely rescheduling. However, we haven't quite seen the action to back up their words.
In 2018, then President Trump said he would, quote, probably support efforts to end federal prohibitions on marijuana and leave its legality up to the states. That legislation never got out of Congress. Trump told a Newsmax TV interviewer last year that studies show marijuana, quote, does significant damage, and yet, from a voting standpoint, it's a pretty popular thing.
Trump's track record on cannabis has been inconsistent at best. We've heard him both say that people who sell drugs in the illicit market should be jailed and even put to death, I think with some of the scarier rhetoric around that. But we've also seen him pardon people who've been locked up for cannabis.
U.S. voters' shifting attitudes about marijuana show in Gallup polling, where last year 70% of adults supported legalization. That's more than double the number who said they favored legalization in 2000. Morgan Fox is political director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
This is an issue that is increasingly important to voters, particularly young voters, and any candidate that actually wants to get ahead, whether it's in the presidential election, in Congress, or state legislatures or local legislators, if they ignore this issue, it's going to be at their peril.
Younger voters animated by legalizing marijuana are hoping for Biden administration action on cannabis before the November election.
Taiwan is looking to Southeast Asia as a pipeline to fill its shortage of high-tech talent. The number of foreign students coming to the island has been growing, especially from Vietnam and Indonesia.
These students from Southeast Asia are not only learning Chinese in Taiwan, they are also getting technical skills training in their field of study. About an hour south of Taiwan's capital, Zhong Minggui from Vietnam is earning a master's degree at Minxin University of Science and Technology.
When I came to Taiwan, I heard that Taiwan is advanced in chemical and material fields. I really like these fields.
Vietnamese student enrollment in Taiwan is growing. They are the largest group of foreign students in Taiwan and account for nearly a quarter of all international students at 27,000. There has also been an increase in the number for students from Indonesia. One of them is future civil engineer Happy Merita, who says it was earthquakes that brought her to Taiwan.
I'm really interested to study here because Taiwan is known for its advanced construction method.
Students like Happy and Zhong are the answer to Taiwan's talent shortage in tech, a problem that is made worse by the island's dropping birth rate. Taipei last year launched a plan to nearly triple the number of foreign students by 2030, retaining 2/3 for after-graduation jobs. The island has been looking to Southeast Asia as a pipeline for new talent. Foreign students are also drawn to the island. For Merita, the attraction is Taipei 101, the tallest building on the island.
It's the famous tourism spot, but I could learn about how it's the construction method they use in the Taiwan 101, how the building is built.
Especially how the building sways but stays strong during an earthquake. Glenn Andres is a third-year student from the Philippines researching semiconductors.
If given a chance to advancing my career here in Taiwan, I will stay. And we all also know that Taiwan is one of the leading manufacturers of, producers of semiconductor products.
Many students are pairing their studies with internships in Taiwan with the hope that they will land a high-tech job here in the future.
A new mentorship program for young rural girls, STEM Sisters, is designed to buck these trends by teaching coding, robotics, and engineering in Eswatini.
I've always wanted to be a cardiologist since I was in grade 6. I like that because it saves lives and it's a risky job, and I like taking risks because being a girl these days is just very hard thing to do because people limit you and tell you you can't be this, you can't be that, and I want to prove that wrong.
While some young women have the passion and drive to excel in science, technology, engineering, and math, societal barriers have kept them from reaching their full potential. But through the STEM Sisters Mentorship Program, sponsored by Eswatini's Queen Nozizwe, Aspiring civil engineers like Sian Dlamini can learn, grow, and even dream bigger.
I entered my first science competition where I actually competed, and I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the fact that I was given a problem and was able to solve it. That's what I enjoy the most. And then after that, we had career expos where people who have pursued careers in the science department came and told us more about their careers. And that's when I realized that I want to do anything under engineering.
As the first female managing director of Eswatini Bank, Queen Nozizwe Gamulela Zulu has worn many hats throughout her career. But her latest role as the driving force behind STEM Sisters could turn out to be the most impactful.
What is important is that we as young professionals, as women that participate in STEM courses or STEM jobs and careers, it is important that we also take time to visit them, to guide them, so that they can see that it is actually doable.
Eswatini girls often miss out on potential careers in engineering, computer science, and medicine. In order to break limiting stereotypes, Mulela Zulu has partnered with WomAnge Eswatini, which promotes women in STEM fields.
We need to have female STEM role models. Luckily enough, in Eswatini, we already have a female Minister of ICT, Ms. Savannah Masia. Her contribution in the STEM sector inspires more girls and women to actually participate in the sector. So as we have more female role models, then the girls can also be inspired to also take on STEM as a career.
With only 6 girls in the STEM Sisters program so far, the impact of this initiative might seem small.
Farmers in rural Malawi are learning to move away from over-dependence on maize, the country's primary staple crop. A local charity, Never Ending Food, is teaching farmers about 200 types of food crops they can grow and eat.
Malawians have long relied on nsima as their main food. The hard porridge made from maize flour is eaten with meat, fish and vegetables. This food is also eaten in other African countries in the region. But in Malawi, the saying goes, if you haven't eaten nsima, then you haven't eaten, no matter what other crops farmers grow. The local charity Never Ending Food in Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, is working to change that. Manager Hadiwell Kanie says through permaculture, farmers learn about over 200 types of crops they can grow and eat, including cassava, potatoes, millet, sorghum, and yams.
The reason being not just for them to have a variety of foods on their table, but also to give them better nutrition. And when the farmers plant together different types of foods, it is also good for the soil. The soil remains nutritious.
Up to 40% of the population in Malawi is currently facing food shortages, largely because of El Nino-induced dry spell, which has damaged more than 2/5 of national crop areas, largely maize. The situation forced President Lazarus Chakwera to declare a state of disaster and appeal for international help. But Ethel Katumba, a single mother of 6 children, says Never Ending Food crop diversification training has helped transform her home into a house of plenty. While her maize is suffering in the dry spell, her cowpeas and other crops are doing well.
In the past, I faced a lot of problems in situations like this. I used to beg for food from my employers or other people to survive. But now that I've learned to grow various types of crops, I don't face food shortages anymore.
The charity trains farmers and government agriculture extension workers, field officers from agriculture non-profits, and university students.
I choose to use this permaculture knowledge to improve the ecosystem here in Malawi and to improve the climate so that the future generation can have amazing environment, that people can have plenty of food.
Advocates say permaculture can potentially address the food shortages Malawi has long faced. Daniel Jinkunta is a government extension worker who received never-ending food training.
Especially when we look into the rise in prices of fertilizers and then the rise in prices of hybrid maize. Farmers are now taking it to their own to start engaging fully in permaculture practices. So I should say the response has been positive.
As farmers like Ethel Katumba learn the importance of food diversification, experts hope the hunger situation in Malawi will soon be history.
Experts say one of the health care challenges in Africa is a shortage of training and education for workers. To help, a U.S. charity called Mission to Heal is training local workers who serve patients in remote locations.
It's a beehive of activity at Ngorunit Health Center in a remote village in the dry Marsabit County in northern Kenya. Residents have gathered here, some traveling tens of kilometers to seek medical services. On this day, the U.S. medical charity Mission to Heal is providing more advanced medical equipment and training local medical workers to use it.
We take the experts that live here and we bring them in there and show them how it is that we can do things and get the principles without the plumbing. Taking care of the people in the context of their culture and their family setting is something that's going to happen here.
Mission to Heal founder Dr. Glenn Gilhod says their goal is to empower local caregivers with knowledge and skills to improve medical services in remote locations like this.
How do you tie the last knot?
Meshak Lekeda is a local nurse at the Ngurunit Health Center.
They've even taught me how to manage some new conditions here and there that I never knew before. And they've even equipped me with the equipment. Yeah?
A 2019 report by the U.S. National Institute of Health found that a key problem facing the healthcare in Africa is weak training and education of workers. Kristen Alcon, a volunteer, says Mission to Heal can help.
They have the knowledge, but their resources are limited. And so I think that we can help them try to best manage things and come up with diagnoses and come up with the best possible diagnosis and treatment with their limited resources. Symptoms?
Senaheya Kalaili traveled over 30 kilometers to seek treatment.
I came here in a lot of pain, especially my abdomen. The doctors gave me 2 injections and medicine, and now I feel better. The pain has gone down.
Volunteer medical students say they are learning too.
Obviously, the culture is very different and the resources are very different. So there's been a steep learning curve in terms of figuring out what we can do and really what we should do.
For me, a big thing was like using gloves for the second time. Back home, we use the gloves and we toss them. It's not like normal to use it the second time. And they do with everything.
The UN Development Programme says some 408 million people in sub-Saharan Africa still don't have healthcare. Mission to Heal says it has trained 3,200 healthcare workers on the continent.
A gold mine in Zimbabwe has turned its former dam site into a solar station, generating all the energy it needs for operations at the mine and releasing excess energy into the national grid. Located in Zimbabwe's southwestern Bubi district, some 500 kilometers from the capital, the project has drawn praise from environmentalists.
After losing hours and hours of production due to Zimbabwe's chronic power shortages, the Tech Gold Mine decided to take action. Workers removed 1.5 million tons of mining waste from a dump site and erected a solar power station that generates 4.4 megawatts of electricity per hour.
And the installation of that plant on a former dam site was a strategic plan to say we have to save the environment, we have to avoid cutting into new virgin land. So we opted for a former dam site, which we had rehabilitated. Since then, the generation from the solar plant is able to run plant, every equipment, every asset that we have on the mine, and with excess, that power is thrown into the national grid.
Danda says the new dump site, unlike the previous one, does not release contaminated waste into a nearby river. Instead, the solid waste is kept in the dump site while water is recycled for use at the mine. Chipompo Fuzuze, who heads the environmental management agents in this southwest region of Zimbabwe, says other mines should emulate the Tech mine, which despite its name is owned primarily by Canadians.
They removed waste, the tailings, to a new site which is properly engineered to protect underground water contamination. And what we also appreciate is they didn't open a new virgin land to site their solar field. They've also saved the forest. What we also appreciate again is they've gone green. Instead of relying on thermal power or hydropower, we know the impact on the environment.
Tech Mine and government scientists say the solar project spread across 3.6 hectares of land will save 5.4 million kilograms per year in coal for thermal energy, or 116.8 million liters of water for hydropower. It's not only environmental scientists welcoming the project. 23-year-old Precious Piri, a mother of one, is one of the locals employed to clear the solar panels of dust from a nearby road and lime mining operation.
My life has changed financially. I'm now able to pay for my child's school fees, buy uniforms, and I'm able to do whatever he wants to do in life. As a mother, I'm able to do these things.
Zimbabwe's power utility says that with the global calls for green energy to reduce emissions, the Tech Mine solar project is commendable, especially in Zimbabwe, where energy shortages are worsening due to droughts in the region.
The Dutch company UN criticizes Britain's Rwanda migrant law as boat tragedy shows dangers of crossing.
Bolstra wasn't able to make it to Austin, Texas for the recent South by Southwest conference, but that didn't stop him from interacting with guests. Beamed in from the Netherlands via his company's 2-meter-tall three-dimensional HoloBox, Bolstra had live conversations all day from the HoloBox. The company, HoloConnects, says their product, which also comes in a mini version, brings people together in a more intimate and engaging way. Passers-by were able to jump onto a white background and see themselves in the box as well. Steve Sterling is the managing director for HoloConnects in North America.
We can deliver a really great sense of engagement with people because they can look each other in the eye and see it with such high fidelity that it feels like they're really right there.
The company uses the word hologram to describe their product, but Sterling says it's actually a 3D box with proprietary hardware that allows the 4K image to be shown on a laminated display with 150,000 lumens of light, giving it a feeling of depth. It's already being used as a marketing tool by big brands and as a concierge with touchscreen for guests at a European hotel chain. Roel Gijsbus is the CEO of marketing agency 270 Degrees, 70 Degrees. His team built the tech that allows users to interact with the HoloBox.
And our tech enables the HoloBox to have like interaction, luxury products. You can look them very detailed.
The HoloBox can even be used with digital people. This realistic-looking avatar was created by a company called AI Vitar. She is currently used to anchor a news desk in South Korea. AI Vitar business manager Seon-ho Lee has even higher hopes.
We want to collaborate with HoloConnect to show what digital humans can do.
HoloConnects say their product will be in select hospitals this year, allowing patients to interact with specialists from around the world.
Apologies for the mix-up in our stories. That story was about a company called HoloConnects. The Dutch company HoloConnects are experts in the field of holographic illusions and are now delivering life-size personal connections with a 2-meter-tall box that make it feel like the person you are talking to is physically present. In drought-stricken regions, accurate forecasts of water availability are critically important. Matt Dibble shows how remote sensing technology is helping in the Rocky Mountains.
Snowfall in Colorado's Rocky Mountains has declined severely in the past 2 decades, meaning less water to sustain life in the arid region. Noah Malich is a snow researcher at the University of Colorado's Institute of Arctic and Alpine Research.
In the western United States, 60 million people depend on snowmelt for their water supply, and globally it's a little over 1 billion people.
Malich uses remote sensing technology to estimate how much water will become available when snows melt.
So darker blues represent more snow, lighter blues represent less snow.
Using satellite images, computer modeling, and on-the-ground snow surveys, Malich and his team are improving the accuracy of snowmelt forecasting. This is critical information for water managers deciding how much water to release from a dam and when to do it.
When you improve the accuracy of the forecast, then you actually increase the efficiency at which water is allocated, which is basically like introducing more usable water into the system.
Another innovation is snow mapping from airplanes. Developed by NASA, the planes use LiDAR, a type of laser scanner, to measure the Earth's surface.
If you take the height that you measured in summer and subtract it from the height that you measured in winter, that gives you a direct measurement of the snow depth.
Measuring snow manually still provides essential data because water density varies greatly in snow, but these surveys are limited by the number of sites that teams can visit. Adding the remote sensing data creates a far more complete picture. As climate change disrupts established patterns, accurately predicting water availability from snow will become more important to meet the needs of the many people who depend on it.
It's 27 minutes after 7. We've come to the end of our news. Thank you for joining us. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
Kuthuthuka kwembango, kuthuthuka kwetinkhundla. Kuthuthuka kwetinkhundla yintuthuko yelive lonke. Thokotela luhlelo sive siyathuthuka nasikulethela intuthuko emimangweni njalo ngabo lesithathu nase ishaya yagabanca insimbi yesithupha kusihlwa. Sive siyathuthuka.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 762222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#. Or you can use Eswatini imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
program. We are going to get into an interview now where we are going to delve into the critical issue of workplace bullying and its impact on organizational Olympics. And we want to really talk about workplace bullying affecting us all, from leaders to bystanders, targets, and even the bullies themselves. In her insightful book, Building Psychologically Safe Spaces, Dr. Ngao Mtsei offers a comprehensive guide to understanding as well as addressing workplace bullying. Dr. Mtsei removes the ambiguity surrounding workplace bullying, providing clarity on its definition and offering actionable steps to create bully-proof organizations. Now, drawing from her extensive research and personal experiences, she emphasizes the crucial roles of leaders, bystanders, targets, as well as bullies in fostering psychologically safe work environments. Join us now as we explore Dr. Mtsei's pioneering work and learn how to cultivate workplaces where everyone can thrive. Welcome to the program. Really, really honored to have you on the show, Doctor. Maybe the first question as I greet you would be, what inspired you to delve into the topic of workplace bullying and writing about building psychologically safe spaces?
Thank you so much, Lisa. Good morning to you and to your viewers. And thanks for having me. Well, one of the first things that inspired me was that workplace bullying was the research topic for my PhD. And as I went through the research, I realized how big of a problem it is in workplaces, and also how much we actually don't talk about it. And of course, nobody reads a PhD thesis other than your supervisors. So at that point, I decided that the message is important. There's need to raise awareness around this epidemic in the workplace, which we sometimes call a silent epidemic, mainly because people don't talk about it. And then, of course, flowing from there, in my practice, in my consulting, it got confirmed that this is a very, very critical and big problem in organizations. So I wanted to write something that anybody would understand. I wanted to write something that's accessible.
Yeah, you did mention something really interesting in the book, the importance of addressing workplace bullying holistically. Could you elaborate on what this entails?
So what I mean by that is that because what tends to happen in the past, and rightfully so, we tend to focus on the targets, people that have been targeted, and that is correct because they need our support. But in order for any intervention to be successful and sustainable, I believe that the voice of the bully should also be part of the solution. And this is why also in my work, I work with abrasive leaders who've been accused of bullying. And holistically, on the institutional level, I think it's also important to put in policies and processes and procedures that people can use to report bullying when it happens.
Policies and procedures maybe, and outline some of these steps there, the actionable steps. But before we get there, maybe let us define workplace bullying and why it's often challenging to identify.
Well, it's often challenging to identify because some of the tactics that bullies use or abrasive leaders use are kind of subtle. They are not overt, and most of the time they use performance. Some of the abrasive behaviors is really being positioned behind performance, and nobody can argue that performance is important. But some of it is subtle. What makes it difficult is subtle, is manipulative. For example, withholding information that's critical for anybody to perform the role. And almost like in public, part of what happens in public being the perpetrators appearing to be supportive of the target, but when nobody's looking, the wrath and the harshness come. So those are some of the issues that make bullying sometimes difficult to identify because it can be so subtle and to the point of causing doubt on the part of the target, almost like asking yourself, is this really what is happening to me right now, bullying or not?
Yeah. I'm picking that there can be some form of exploitation, there can be some form of micromanaging, so to speak. I hope you'll agree with me there. I think that's what I'm deducing from what you're telling me, as well as how do I pronounce this? But like what you were saying, the being criticized privately and never publicly, and the kind of criticism that you get in private can really wear you down. Maybe let's outline some actionable steps maybe that leaders, bystanders, targets, as well as bullies can take to create psychologically safe work environments.
Well, the onus really is on leaders, because people are not going to speak up if they don't feel safe. As it often happens, when people speak up, they get more threatened and the bullying intensifies. So it is important for bullies to essentially walk the talk. How many times have we had leaders saying we have a zero tolerance against bullying here? Yet that behavior is opposite to what they are saying. So first and foremost, leaders have got to model the behavior that they want everybody to follow, because leaders have what they call a shadow. Every leader has got their shadow. So in other words, the way they lead, the way they show up, essentially impacts the direct environment. People do what leaders behave, not so much what they say. So it is important for leaders to model the kind of behavior. The other things that they can do, earlier on, I talked about policies, procedures, and processes. So it's also important, over and above to taking a zero tolerance against bullying, to support that with the policy, to support that with the practices, and making it known to all employees what they can do to report the bullying if they suspect being bullied themselves, or if they see somebody being bullied. So it's, and essentially, it also is incumbent upon the leaders to almost like to open themselves to being vulnerable, to being challenged, because one of the reasons we don't have psychologically safe spaces is that leaders often do not take being challenged, or when the status quo being challenged, kindly, and therefore they suppress the voice of the employees. So those are, in a nutshell, some of the things that are the steps that leaders could take to, as a way of laying the foundation towards creating a psychologically safe environment.
Yeah, and I suppose there's an onus then to the corporate affairs offices in every organization in drawing up those policies and making sure that, people, the personnel is really protected from workplace bullying. Let's talk about something that I found interesting in your book, and I suppose this is what makes it even more compelling, the fact that you have first-hand accounts from leaders and targets of bullying yourself. How do these personal experiences contribute to the understanding of workplace bullying?
Correct. I mean, one of the things, the opening thing I say in the book is that one of the reasons I'm doing the work that I'm doing is that, which speaks to your earlier question sometimes about the complexity of bullying, is that I was bullied myself. And at the time, I mean, that's some 10 years ago, at the time, it was worse. No, at least these days, we actually are starting to talk about bullying. I was bullied, and I was not even aware that what was happening to me was in fact bullying. And I'm wanting to guess that even the person that was bullying me, my line manager at the time, was not aware that what was happening, what they were doing was bullying. And of course, one of the misconceptions that we have around bullying and targets, which I also write about, is we tend to associate people that are targeted for bullying to be weak, for being people that are not able to speak up for themselves. But that is contrary. That is contrary to the truth. Often the reason why bullies target specific people is they target them because they have attributes or competencies, some of which they wish they could have themselves and they do not have. And therefore they view them as a threat, as people who are taking the limelight from them, mainly because many a times perpetrators, abrasive leaders that bully are driven by self-interest. So when they see that their self-interest is being threatened, then they target the person who they believe might be threatening to them or might be standing in the way of them advancing their self-interest.
Yeah, you do mention that it's 10 years now since you were particularly the victim of workplace bullying. I wonder, it's been 10 years now, and from your research and personal experiences, surely you must have gained some insights regarding, reforming bullies and aiding the healing process, which I think is very, very important. Reforming bullies and aiding the healing process for targets. What kind of insights are those? Could you share that you have gained about reforming bullies and aiding the healing process for targets?
First of all, I've never referred to myself as a victim because I think language matters. I've never referred myself as a victim of bullying, but I saw myself as a target, as being targeted at the time. And that is a discussion, a debate for another day. But one of the insights that I got working with abrasive leaders that are accused of bullying is we tend to think that they are very self-assured people, and we tend to think that they have a high level of self-awareness. What I'm finding, some of the insights that I found working with them, is that many actually have very low levels of self-awareness, or what other people might refer to as emotional intelligence. In other words, they do not have a great sense of, the way their behavior, how their behavior is impacting on other people, because they are driven by self-interest or they are driven by performance, and it doesn't matter the conduct, how they get the results that they need in order for them to go ahead in organizations. So those are some of the key insights that I have gotten. But also the most important one is that with the right support, they can change. Bullies can change, because abrasion is a behavior, is a leadership style. And more often than not, what I find is that it's the kind of conduct or leadership style that got them the results previously, that got them the results and were essentially responsible for them being in the leadership positions that they are now. What is different now, as we know the world of work has changed, is that more and more it is required of leaders to have humility, to have competencies such as compassion and empathy, and which means, therefore, what the leaders, how they have led in the past, and which led them to the successes of today, is not going to take them to the next level or to the successes of tomorrow. That's in terms of the competencies that are required for the world of work today.
Important traits for any leader, even the personnel themselves. I mean, I would assume, to be empathetic and all those really, really important traits that an individual must have. It creates a harmonious working environment and society at large. I want us to look into how organizations can implement the strategies that you outline in your book to proactively prevent bullying incidents.
So one of the things that I offer, that is at the back of the book, I offer, even when in some of the chapters, I offer tangible tools. For example, reflective tools. What every leader can take that tool, answer a series of questions which are outlined there, and to get a sense of, or almost like have the ability to self-assess whether or not they might have the propensity to bully. So that is one of the things that the offering from the book, which a self-assessment tool, which leaders can use to check whether or not to self-assess whether or not, as I said, they might or might not have the propensity to bully. Another tool that I am offering in the book is for the targets, for them to help to ascertain that what is actually happening to them is indeed bullying, and it really centers around documenting and factually evidence of the behavior, describing the behavior, who it is, how often, and so on and so forth. The other offering, of course, is for bystanders, because I am of the view that bystanders, by watching and experiencing and witnessing bullying and not doing anything about it, means that you are enabling the bullying, the behavior to happen. So I am of the view that there is no such a thing as an innocent bystander. So there's also an offering for bystander in the book that I'm hoping can help bystanders, enable them to take a stance and for them to speak up. And of course, there's also a whole lot of offerings for leaders in terms of what they can do to help, first and foremost, to create employee voice. I speak about employee voice. In other words, create an environment where employees can speak up. And I also speak about one of the ways that leaders can self-examine is to adopt, to explore or adopt human-centered leadership styles. That is leadership that puts people first.
Yeah, it's a public holiday in Eswatini. It's a flag day, and a lot of Eswati are not at work, and a lot of them watch this program, and as they listen to you, I see them introspecting and assessing the kind of environment that they are placed under at their various workspaces and workplaces. And I do see some of them getting that light bulb moment right now, saying that, you know what, I'm actually being abused at work, right? Mm-hmm. And it's such a moment, because it's a realization that is not really nice to realize, but at the same time, it offers you, solutions, because we are also discussing solutions, how these things can be, confronted. What advice would you give to these individuals who have found themselves in toxic work environments affected by bullying?
So the first thing I'm going to ask, and first of all, happy Flag Day. I hope it's a beautiful day, and I love the Swati culture. So happy Flag Day. Anybody that is not seeing this, I'm hoping you're going to air it before Friday. So I would actually urge them to come to the book launch on Friday. It's hosted by the Leadership Growth Forum, and I can't remember where the launch is, and I'm hoping in your closing remarks you can say where they are. So I would actually ask them to come to the launch, because we are now at the launch. We're going to go into deeper conversations around what you have started, and they can also have access to not just the book, but I will be there. So I would be open to even have, in addition to the conversations that are going to happen at the launch, I would also be open to have one-on-ones with people that have got a burning desire to have a conversation with me.
Well, it's scheduled for the 26th of April at Mountain View in Mbabane. It's going to coincide with the launch of the book, Doctor, which is quite interesting. But lastly, what do you hope readers will take away from building psychologically safe spaces?
Well, I'm hoping that first of all, the readers, anybody in the ecosystem of the of workplaces, can get to really understand the importance of psychologically safe spaces for sustainability. Because happier employees, when you're happy at work, you tend to be productive. So it's actually for the benefit of any leader, of any manager, of any employee. And I'm hoping they would get to understand this phenomenon and also get to reflect and understand that everybody has got a role to play in creating psychologically safe spaces. More so the leaders. Leaders have got the most responsibility to do so.
Right, right. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I hope you will enjoy your stay in Eswatini, but most importantly, I hope that Eswatini will receive this information, which is very urgent and important that you are bringing forward, because it is pervasive and it's more often than not swept under the rug. And we hope that this is something that can be, fixed now more than ever urgently. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy Eswatini.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, that was Dr. Ngao Motse on her book, Building Psychologically Safe Spaces. Are you bullied at work? Are you sure you're not? Rewind this interview on our YouTube page. Listen to what marks a bully in the workplace. I know a few people who are being bullied in their workspaces, and I hope that they can confront this issue. And if you're a leader and you are a bully, I hope that you can listen to what the doctor is saying, because the price that you may pay for this is quite bigger than you can imagine. Let's go for a net break.
Weswana lalela nizaba letipiye ngosini uthokandaba emabutho akaphelele lapha esigodlweni ludzidzini mhla tingemashumi lamabili nesiphohlongo kuyo lesetulu kujuba ngeluthaka eshiselweni kujuba ngeluthaka eMpumalanga kujuba ngenkomanzi kaHoho nanga ke lamabutho inganyeti inyathi imgadlela bokhololo usho njalo ke malokotha ngilomnyama ngilosenhlambelweni malokotha ngilomnyama ngilonje ngenyama yesibanda bomswazi ayisemnande kuphemnande koseni uthuma kuyasa ke embube kungamabhudlo uthuma phansi bakufa ngethi ngqungu bakubalekela msakandaba wena ke mbekwana kuphumalanga nenizabatalo ilanga lithela ushobe ngidunthela likhulu kwenye malangani inyoni ngalontshilo inyoni ngamabisa asabele uniya blamas nakhona ngunasimbiko wayethe wena waphakathi
bayethe wena waphakathi
Hey you! Yes, you. Have you paid your TV license?
Did you know that by paying for your TV license fees, you will be complying with the laws that govern television possession, in particular the Swaziland Television Authority Act of 1983 and its regulations? It is a legal obligation.
Paying for your TV license can have a positive spin-off, as the money collected from TV license fees goes a long way in assisting Eswatini Television Authority procure appealing and relevant content to broadcast on the channel.
So now, these fees also increase purchasing of local content from independent producers, which helps ensure that the arts and film industry in the country is well supported thus far, ensures the creation of jobs for Eswatini. The payment of TV license fees goes a really long way in such endeavors as well as nation building.
A TV license costs 180 emalangeni per year per device, and for other accessories such as a decoder or njinja, it costs 50 emalangeni per device per year.
By paying for your TV license,
you will be doing the right thing.
All right, sipheza lapho hlelo lefulo omuhla sibonga kakhulu ukuthi nivuke nathi masala mahle nanoma kul holiday sesama kusenikhonile nje ukubukela It's National Flag Day njengoba nimvile Alpheus ukuthi take that 10 minutes ukuthi ushaya umthanazo wakho nje lomncane noma ko mix abantwana itiyeni ngicabanga ukuthi nasiphuma nje la namgunje njengoba ngishito Alpheus ukuthi nathi sine team yonke nje la e-studio so shaya umthandazo.
Yeah,
noma kanjani
umngoni uthi ke angawushaya umthandazo uqala isalute. So cala la so shona phasi ngelitholo so beka ke live lonke angwane emthandazweni sithi sinikete insaye ukuthi nanathi salosenda njalo
uthi ngimtshele nasengicethe kuthanaza noma nangisaya kuyothandaza ngema-days and of course lenye izaba nje la ivetile ngiyenza ukuthi asiwahloniphe lama flags isifiso lokuthambimba nje lamoya nasho lokukhulu akabe seseka yawhaba noma ke sayathabuka iflag nje asihloniphe sizive semaswati
kodwa angake ngayibona letsabile nale hwabile ingahwaba njani vele iphinde tsabule abakhona amabhiskits
ayaba khona because asho vele iyanetfa shiso laka khona nje lengangawabona but ke asithemba ukuthi
amabhiskits aphinda athenga wona nakaphela le flag yona iphela yona ayilungiswanga nalakhala kumcha sonke sisiya kukhutsata lo ukuthi tinkampani tonke letikhona akungasithi inkampani todwa nje la khona kunemjeka welive khona uma ngabe sinayibona ukuthi kungathi seyinethiwe noma ke seyishiswe langa kakhulu lemibala akusasiyo lena lesiyatiko sonke ngoba imibala ayemjeka wakangwane siyayadi elungelele iyafana nje blue ngabe ngiblue akube ngiblue red akube ngired yellow akube ngiyellow sihlangu asingabese siyadzabuka siyathi nje flag ukuthi kufanele ukuthi ibe kanjani kanti ke sisayibuka yona lenzaba leyo esukwini lalomuhla ukuthi lokusithokotisile kufunza ngework space workplace bullying sithemba ukuthi ikakhulu kulabo labangema leaders emisebentini ngoba kungathi vele icondzene nabo le icondzene nabo kakhulu bayekele ukuhlukubeta disebenzi ngoba lokuhlukubeta kuvakela ukuthi kutanga ihlobo letahlukene it can come in the form of manipulation in the form of performance management it can come in the form of criticism in the form of exploitation as well so bodokotela la sebatfunzele letintfo basichazele sisivele ukuthi kukhanza lokho kungaffect le personally kuphela kuaffecta nale output yalomsebenzi kukhanza ukuthi imisebenzi sekude kahle lama returns siyakhuda lo
yeah nisala kahle masatla mahle sisamba ukuthi indaba nelanga lelihle happy National Flag Day.